And I'm Margaret Greenberg. I'm an executive coach and the founder of the Greenberg Group, which is a coaching consulting firm, as well as the author of the best-selling book, Profit from the Positive with Senya Myman. And with us today is Mia Chernick, who is an associate of the Greenberg Group. And Mia is a learning and development professional. She works for the world's largest hotel chain with about 18,000 employees that she's responsible for. And she's working with me in addition to that. I'm going to introduce Dana in a moment. But Mia, before we get started, can you do a couple of housekeeping details, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Margaret, and welcome back for those who are coming back for another dose, and welcome to our webinar if it is your first time. A couple things, we are going to be utilizing that chat box as we've gotten familiar with so far, so continue to keep that open, and we will give you some prompts to contribute there in the chat box. Two, I wanted to share that we will be sending out all the slides in PDF format as well as the recording. So you will have access to these resources after the fact. We have some awesome content to cover, so I think you'll be really glad that you have those moving forward. Margaret, I'll turn it back over to you and we can get started.
Okay. Great. So let's do a quick centering exercise, which is how we like to kick off every webinar that we do. We've been doing these since March 20th, twice a week. And so for those of you that have come back, that's awesome. For those that are new, welcome. So let's start with just this notion of absent presence, where we are physically present, or in this case, virtually, but mentally absent. So let's just pause for a moment, close your eyes if you'd like. And I just want you to begin by focusing your awareness on your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in effortlessly and breathing out. And then let's just do something called the 4-7-8, where you breathe in on the count of 4, you hold it for 8, and then you slowly release, on 8. Hold it for 7, release on 8. Sorry about that. So breathe in on 4. Let's do one more. Breathe in on 4. Hold it for 7. And slowly release on 8. Okay, so now you've kind of centered yourself from whatever you had coming just before this, and now you can be really, really present. So I'd like to introduce our guest today, which is Dana Arakawa. Dana, I'll just start by saying she and I met 15 years ago when we were both studying at the University of Pennsylvania in the first ever Masters of Applied Positive Psychology. And I'm just delighted to be connected with Dana again. We did our thesis together. And then Dana went on to the University of Hawaii, where she got her PhD in organizational development. And so today I like to think of her as Dr. Dana. Dr. Dana is an organizational psychologist, and she's also the founder of this organization called Thrive 808. And it's a consulting practice based in Honolulu, Hawaii. And the mission of Thrive 808 is to make work better using the science of positive psychology to really build a resilient organization. And we know today with this COVID-19, we need resilience now more than ever before. So welcome, Dana, and I'm going to turn it over to you to lead us through our webinar today, A Dose of Positivity.
Thank you, Margaret. I will start to share my screen as well. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. I am talking about today a model that I developed based on what we know about what works with teams. And a lot of this is informed, as Margaret said, by the science of positive psychology, which is what connected Margaret and I in the first place. And I'm excited to talk today about what makes a thriving team, especially now as we're all working virtually. This means what is a virtual thriving team? And, because of the shortened time today, we're just going to focus in particular on one piece of this, and that's motivation, and looking specifically at how do we build motivation based on research and what we know really motivates people. And we'll end today with some Q&A. Anytime you see this sort of greenish teal icon, the chat box, please feel free to put your, I request your input there, and as always, ask any questions at any time, but in particular, when you see that icon, I'll be asking for your input. So the model that I've developed around thriving teams is based on building clarity, motivation, trust, all centered on this foundation of individual well-being, because a team is comprised of people, and we all are really responsible for maintaining our own well-being. Here we look to the positive psychology model of PERMA, or building positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment, which is something for another day. But so that's really the core of, I think, what a team is just people, taking care of themselves and taking care of each other. So the first part then, the yellow, is clarity. Here we look to clarity around roles. Everyone needs to know what they're doing and responsible for. Clarity around goals, what the goal of the team is, and clarity around process, so how the team gets things done. We're going to talk about motivation more in detail, so I'll skip that now. And then trust. So, together, the team has to be able to trust each other, and that's really based on this foundation of connecting with each other, feeling safe, and everyone feeling a sense of belonging to the team. So let's talk a little bit more about motivation. This is a model developed by Daniel Pink that says that we all need autonomy, mastery, and purpose. There's a lot of other models of motivation out there, but this one I think really works well, specifically around how we are in the workplace and how starting with autonomy, we need to feel some control over our day-to-day activities. And we're going to go into each of these a little bit more in detail and just kind of introducing them now. We also need to feel mastery, or have a sense of wanting to improve and learn and grow. And finally, especially in the workplace, we like to feel that our work is contributing to something and that we have a need for meaning and purpose. So looking at autonomy a little more, this one is heavily impacted now, or we can think about this specifically in our current situation. COVID-19 has shown us all that, and in some grand scheme, as existentially in the world, it's we have sometimes very little control over our day-to-day life, and that has really shocked a lot of us. We've been forced in our homes and have been dealing with a lot of changes, grief, loss to our daily routines, loss to, in some situations, much bigger, like maybe people, and just changes. So we are all dealing with a real threat here, I think, to our autonomy and our ability to control our life. But in our own kind of work, there is a way that we can kind of regain control over our small daily choices, the things that we do every day, the things that we just have small bits of control over. And so researchers have for a while been assessing autonomy based on items like this. So I'm going to read them out, and then I think Mia has a poll so that we can kind of consider, how much do you resonate or kind of think about these items. My job allows me to make my own decisions about how to schedule my work. My job allows me to make a lot of decisions on my own. My job allows me to decide how I go about doing my work. So in a research study, a psychologist like myself would ask, for you to respond to one of these questions. So let's try one of those now.
Great. Thanks, Dana. Team, you should see these 3 questions pop up on the screen, and we'd love for you to assess the extent to which you agree or disagree with each of the statements. And all of this information is anonymous. Our responses are coming in. We have 3 people left, so we'll give you a couple more seconds here. I know some people are calling in on the phone, so I think we should be set here with our responses. I am going to go ahead and share with you the results to see where we fall across the board. Are you all able to see the percentages? Yeah, I see a shaking of the head from Mary. Yeah. So it looks like for, you know, the first question, being able to make decisions about how to schedule our work, 86% of the group agrees. And for number 2, my job allows me to make a lot of decisions on my own, 57% agrees. We have slightly agreed for 43% of the group. And then 100% of us do feel that our jobs allow us to decide how to go about doing our work.
That's fantastic. Really happy to see the results of this poll. You know, for me, particularly, autonomy is one of my highest motivating needs, which is, I think, why I ended up going into business for myself, because I really feel like what motivates me the most is being able to control my own daily schedule and time. And in some of the past jobs I've had, that wasn't as possible, and it was a little demotivating for me. So I think, you know, as we go along, you might notice some things that you know are really important to you. Okay, I'll go ahead then to the next. So thinking about this specifically now in our virtual team environment, how has working from home given you more or less control over your own work and daily choices? It was really pleasing to see that so many of you on the call have a high degree of autonomy now in your work. And so considering your ability to control your schedule, make decisions, and control the process of how you work or the method of how you get things done, what's working and what could be improved? So to any of these questions, I'd love to see some you know, chat input here and get your thoughts.
Dana, while we're waiting
While we wait, Dana, to see.
I was just going to say, while we're
Go ahead,
waiting
Mia.
for the responses to come in, I feel personally, for that first bullet, to answer that question, my work schedule environment has changed drastically, and I have such a higher level of autonomy now, and being able to do something so small as plan my workout at the same time every morning, or make myself and my boyfriend lunch, like that level of control for me makes all of the difference, and I feel it in my own well-being. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you. And while I'm on full screen, I actually can't see the chat box, I realize. So if there's anything that pops up, or if you think it's time to move ahead, just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard from Laura that she has a lot more control over everything, it seems, definitely a lot more autonomy. Lisa Sansom shared that I feel like I have a lot more flexibility in what I do and when, but there hasn't been a lot of change over the what I have to deliver. So some autonomy over the how and the when. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of shifts, right? And a lot of places are still maybe now moving towards like mixed quarantine measures. I know here in Hawaii, we're sort of going back into the office part-time. And a lot of this here is still in flux. And I think that here, I think we're just looking to raise the importance of considering that autonomy, if it's an important need for you, how can you kind of continue to just be aware of this and kind of maybe advocate as we continue to figure out our virtual working situation to kind of keep that control over your schedule, decision making, and how you go about getting that work done.
I think we're good to move on, Dana.
Okay. So with mastery, the second part of this motivation, we also have a need to improve, to learn, and to grow, and that we're motivated, just to practice and to get better skills. And so a lot of times, if you're motivated by mastery, you might agree with these statements. I feel competent to achieve my goals. I feel capable at what I do. I feel I can successfully complete difficult tasks. So some folks really feel a strong need to grow by practicing and using their strengths. And I know, Margaret, you recently wrote an article here about using your strengths that we posted on LinkedIn. And I love, I just think it's a great chance to share that or talk about that a little.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. Yeah, I really do believe now, during this very disruptive time in our global history, that this is one of the best times to learn and grow professionally and really create this mastery. So yeah, I wrote this piece called The One Thing That's Certain During Uncertain Times on LinkedIn, and it's about your professional development. And I tell a story about how that impacted me many, many years ago. And just as of today, I just graduated myself from a new 360 Shift Positive training that went on for the last 4 weeks, twice a week virtually, because I always see time of disruption as a time to focus in on ourselves and develop ourselves. So check it out. Thank you, Dana.
No, that's such a great thing. I definitely always think of you learning and growing, and that's always inspiring to me too. So thinking about now how we apply this to our virtual teams, how has working from home stretched you to grow new skills and practice your strengths? Margaret mentioned kind of signing up for a new professional development course. There are other things that you can do here is to kind of build your mastery or build your skill at mastering. And that's to look towards either to past performance. So in this time, we've all never gone through a crisis pandemic like this, but we've gone through other challenges. And in kind of thinking about challenges or things that you might be facing now, you can always look back to things that you've done before and recall times that you feel like you've used your strengths to get through and succeed. You can look for role models, and here, actually, Margaret, you're one of mine, one of those that I think have always, I can look to say, this is, how I could look forward to or build or grow. We could ask people for a pep talk, and we could get encouragement from those that know and support us. And we can also kind of tap into our kind of gut. And here, this is where there's such a link between our bodily, physical health, how our emotions are. If we're tired, we often don't feel as good, right? If we're didn't get enough sleep, if we ate bad food, if these are all things that will affect how we feel, which then affect how capable we're able to tackle the challenges in front of us. And here, actually, I know that Lisa Sansom on the call wrote this great article about self-efficacy that later in a kind of fuller workshop on this, I would love to link this article that's there about building self-efficacy, which is really tied to mastery here in these ways. So in the chat box, I'd love to hear how you are growing and practicing these skills and strengths now in this virtual world or working from home.
Dana, I think for many people, I've heard from my clients who some of them hadn't used Zoom or WebEx or other, technology platforms. They've definitely stretched themselves learning, new technology. And even those that have been using it didn't necessarily ever use the breakout group function or the polling function or the chat function. So that's been something I'm hearing a lot of.
Definitely.
Awesome. A couple of responses I'd like to share, Dana. From Mike, we've been taking online courses, enhanced our communication levels to include self-care for everyone on our team. And Mary shared, she's definitely learning new technologies. We have a couple other responses, lots of online classes. Lisa just finished 4 days with Gallup StrengthsFinder. And Betsy is participating in a variety of Zoom classes or short podcasts with role models.
They're really fueling our desire to learn and to grow, thinking about how you operate on your team and how you operate in a virtual team environment. You can really think about how are you building new skills, and are there ways that you can communicate with your team about how to continue this work together. So I think that's one of the key components as we're thinking about motivation. These are all kind of relating back to how do we motivate others and how do we stay motivated ourselves. And knowing about these basic motivation needs is one way to kind of have just like a framework in mind when we're relating to other people and kind of working on motivation when, you know, sometimes for our own selves, motivation can slip, right? And the last one is purpose. So we are motivated by the need for meaning and to contribute to something larger and bigger than ourselves. So you might think about how you relate to these statements. I think that there is meaning in what I do. I have a task in life. I feel part of a bigger whole. And I know for myself, this is an ongoing thing, you know, as far as relating to meaning and to purpose. And I think, Margaret, you know, you mentioned when we talked about that, there's actually a great coaching exercise that you often use here in connecting and helping folks tap into their purpose.
Yeah, Dana, one of the things is I'll ask clients, you know, well, how can you connect your work to your purpose? And they'll often say, well, I don't know what my purpose is. Like help me articulate it. And so there's all sorts of things that you can do. And it is a reflective exercise. And it isn't something that just, you know, you write it down and it's over. It is a process. It's a lifelong journey, right? But a very quick exercise is simply filling in this sentence, and it's a metaphor. And you fill in the sentence like this: I am like a blank. I blankety blank blank. So I'll share mine. That it's held true for me. I'd say for the last probably 15, 18 years. I am like a gardener. I help people grow and flourish. That's what I do as a coach. That's what I do as a mother. That's what I do as a friend, a colleague. So think of it, a metaphor that really describes what it is that you do in this world. And it can be even bigger than your current role. It can be really your life purpose.
Just move on to this last bit about connecting it to our virtual team, our virtual world now. How has virtual work contributed to or impacted your sense of meaning? And considering your own job, and this I think relates a little to your exercise, Margaret, what is the bigger picture for you? So I know when you said that, as far as you being able to so clearly articulate that you're like a gardener, I feel like I myself would have to do some more thinking on that. You know, what's a good metaphor for the way that I bring to the world? And so I think that finding purpose, I think, is often an ongoing, or you know, something that it's a big question, and it's always one to keep in mind. I know that we are right at the end of our time, so I'm going to turn it back to Mia just for some final, the final slides and Q&A and everything. But thank you, everyone. And I'm so pleased to join everyone here today. Thank you, Margaret and Mia, for having me on your webinar series.
Great.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you. And I know we are at the bottom of the hour, and we can stay on for a few more minutes to do the Q&A. So either put that in the chat box or unmute yourself. But we did want to just mention a couple things. If you want, hungry for more positivity, we have 2 more next week. And they're actually going to be coaching sessions next week, where we're going to do something called Your Wheel of Life, both pre-COVID and now during this COVID. So be sure to register for those. And then lastly, with a dose of positivity we've been doing since March 20th, we'll starting our 9th cohort of our certificate program, starting on June 2nd. So we hope to see some of you that want to learn even more tools and train your employees or your consultants or external clients. We'd love to see you there. And then lastly, here's how you connect with us. Don't worry about writing all this down. Mia will send you the slides and the recording from today, but if you'd like to connect with us, here's how to do it. And let's open it up for some questions. Oh, Betsy, love the Wheel of Life. Everyone needs to join this one. Yes, Betsy's one of our certified practitioners and has actually done that with us as well. Thank you, Betsy. And it is a snapshot in time. So just because you might have done your Wheel of Life a year ago or 2 years ago or 6 months ago, it could look very different today in this COVID environment that we're in.
We'll see you then, Betsy.
Lisa's got to run. All right, Lisa, thank you.
Bye, Lisa.
Mary. Laura, how did you find us?
I don't remember. Sorry.
I love your honesty.
I'm a business librarian, so I do a lot of reading and collecting material in organizational and management related stuff. So maybe it was LinkedIn, but I'm very interested in the positive psychology stuff too. So, and bringing it into the library.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, Laura, I'll be
Okay,
sending out that information, as I mentioned, so you can stay in touch with us and we can see how, we can help you do that in any way that we can.
The libraries might be an untapped market for you guys. We need all of this. But it's definitely
Well, we've trained people in 14 countries now to be able to deliver all of these tools that are all, evidence-based on positive psychology research. But I don't think we've had a librarian amongst the certified practitioners. We've had pharmacists, we've had gynecologists, we've had HR people, L&D people, therapists. I don't think we've had a librarian yet, Mia.
I don't think so. There's a first time for everything, though.
That's right.
And Laura, you're based out in Michigan?
I'm at Michigan at the business library, so I lead a team of about 20, but we have 250 or so employees with the library at Michigan State.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's East Lansing, right?
It's East Lansing, yep.
Okay, cool.
Just down the road is U of M with Jane Dutton and all those folks in positive psychology, but not.
Who Dana and I studied under.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and
Yeah, Jane, I'm still very close with her.
okay. That's great. Yeah.
our thesis advisor, Christopher Peterson, who passed a few years ago, he was at the University of Michigan as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was very beloved there as a professor for a lot of the students.
Yeah. Well, I'm tapped into, I'm on the board of a national association. I'm always looking for content as well for the conferences, librarian conferences, and in-house training for libraries. So
Great.
Like I said, maybe
Well, Mia will send you, yeah, and Mia will send, I mean, we do a lot of speaking engagements, both virtually and you know, on you know, in person. But you might be interested in the certificate program. Again, I'm not here to sell people anything. We wanted to do this dose of positivity as something to give people during this really extraordinary time. But it might be something that you'd be interested in, that you can then train other people, and there's no licensing fee. You get all the materials, all the slides, everything, to be able to teach other people, because there's only a couple of us that do this, and we're trying to like create a ripple effect in this world, a positive contagion effect.
I love it.
Right, Dana? Yeah.
No, I'm definitely gonna.
All right. Well, unless there's great, awesome.
And I had
all
this
right. Then I'm gonna sign off.
I love that.
Great. Oh, I love that book.
I had it on my desk.
Oh, that's it.
So I'm in the right place.
Awesome. Oh, I love. Oh, that's great. So Dan Pink is the spirit in the room. Awesome.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.